we have a special guest with us for a special address on leveraging cloud to enhance productivity in governance. And for that, we have a digital technology leader from the governance spectrum. We have with us Mr. Golok Simli, CTO, Passport Seva, Minister of External Affairs, Government of India. We welcome Mr. Simli. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Sovi. Thank you.
Just to tell you and our audience also that this perhaps one of the very few events globally also where we are discussing two aspects of technology. One is cloud, one is security. It's not only about cloud or only about security, but overall we're discussing two aspects. One is cloud computing, one is security. And throughout the day today and tomorrow, we'll have various panel discussions on cloud for pharma sector, cloud for manufacturing sector, cloud for BFSI sector, and also special sessions on cryptocurrency, dark web. There we'll see presence of enterprise leaders and law enforcement agency specialists as well as advocates. So that is how we have formed this agenda of today. We welcome Mr. Simli. Over to you for your special address on leveraging cloud to enhance productivity for governance ecosystem.
thank you, Mr. Sovic. Let me at the outset thank APAC News Network for having me here and to deliver the keynote for around 10-15 minutes. What do we have? Now, coming back to the topic which we are discussing today, Mr. Sovic saying that how do we leverage cloud? How do we kind of leverage emerging technologies? Cloud is one of the emerging technology which now we are leveraging maximum. But I'll focus mostly on the cloud. But side by side, cloud alone cannot do wonder. There are kind of a gamut of technology which really bringing the change. But coming back to the topic, I'd say that when we talk about the cloud, there are 3-4 things straight away comes to my mind. The first and foremost thing is if you see into the legacy part of it, every government organization, ministries, department, including us, the passport seva, if I vis-a-vis look my legacy and where we are today, typically when you are migrating from let's say from your legacy, and if you are going on a on-premises way and vis-a-vis if you compare with the cloud way, there is a huge advantage, huge difference in terms of savings of cost. Now when I say saving of cost, it says that various reports suggest that, and our own experience suggests that there is a cost saving of around 50 to 60% if you come out from the legacy system to the the new system. Cloud away tells us that almost 50 to 60% cost saving you have. And the time of migration, that is very important to understand. I mean, how much time you are taking coming out from the legacy, moving into the new culture, new technology, new technology adoption. The time is essence. So even in the time factor, so both time and cost, it's a huge advantage, not only to the public sector at large, but every sector per se, if I say every sectors. Now, the second very important point, if we talk into the cloud technology, is how do you bring in, especially when you talk about the citizens, we are dealing with, let's say, 1.4 billion of people across the country. And if you need to address their requirement, address their demand, what is the technology you are looking for, which has kind of a enormous capacity in terms of agility, in terms of adaptability. And again, I personally have experienced that cloud way is the best way when you are meeting with that kind of a demand, that kind of expectations of the citizens, that kind of a requirement, certain requirement. Let me put you one small example here, saying that we all are now witnessing this COVID era, right? COVID-19 era. Now, during the COVID-19 era, if you ask me, most of our corporate application, most of our corporate network, most of our corporate data center, it went into a remote environment, WFH environment, or let's say at the best to a hybrid environment. Now, that kind of sudden requirement to meet, that kind of sudden demand to meet, again, I personally feel that the cloud way is the best way. And the beauty of a kind of this kind of a cloud provisioning is, or the cloud platform is, you have a facility, or you have a kind of a platform which can provision you those kind of a requirement at the remotest part of the country, at the last man to the, I always say, to the village, whenever you need it, right? And how much you need it. So COVID has taught us, really saying that, otherwise, just imagine if you have a on premises data center, if you have a, like, let's say, CUG kind of a network, if you have your application running from your own premises data center, how do you reach this kind of exigencies? How do you react to this kind of exigency? I gave the example of COVID scenario. Then the other two advantages which I personally feel is, when you move this kind of a platform technology, in terms of resilience, in terms of the time to recover. For an example, let's say you are not able to reach to your corporate data center, corporate application during the COVID time. That means your recovery time is, kind of a, it's going to a haywire, and the citizen at that point of time, let's say, requires your services or requires your help. How do you deal with the citizens? So what is the resiliency factor? What is the recovery time? And I again always say that, what is your continuation factor? What is your sustainability factor when you are dealing with the citizens? And again, there I foresee saying that, no, the cloud way, the hybrid cloud way is the best way to deal with our citizens or masses at large. Then the last thing I find is, whenever we talk about, kind of our aging technology, aging infrastructure, aging applications, we have seen that, the workforce which we have, the government workforce, the public sector workforce, many a time we realize that, they feel demotivated, because, at those point of time, the kind of technology advancement we are not able to take care of, the kind of training capacity building we are not able to take care of. And for that to happen, otherwise you need kind of a holistic kind of a re-engineering, kind of a, you're increasing facilities and amenities, you are increasing the technology infrastructure. And again, if you see and compare vis-a-vis the cloud way going, and uh, bringing your workforce into a latest technology, latest upgradation in terms of skill enhancement, training, capacity building, your workforce itself, no, they got it very much motivated, and they perform. I can say they can give you double productivity. Let me give you a small example here. When we are coming out from the legacy passport issuance system, which was, no, okay, it was automated, but not kind of a fully, and let's say, end-to-end automated. The most of the component in terms of, let's say, training, capacity building, re-energizing them, moving them into a complete digital culture, bringing a digital ethics within the ecosystem at large, not only for you, not only for your own employees, but a stakeholder at the large. I personally found that after the Passport Seva program, our employees' productivity has gone almost 2 to 3 times. Now, how is that happen? It is just because the kind of transformation we could bring, the kind of digital adoption we could bring, the kind of digital environment we could create. But having said that, all benefits of, let's say, cloud, emerging technology, whatever I name it, the challenges, the 3 4 challenges we must remember is, while you are moving towards cloud, or while you are approaching towards cloud, is, no, there are 3 4 areas which one has to be very careful. And the first and foremost area is, no, do you have a data strategy? Now, when I say, do you have a data strategy, meaning to say that, do you really understand your workload well? Do you really understand your, workforce well? Do you really understand your workspace well when you are moving towards the cloud environment? Do you really understand your web and content well, right? Do you really understand your application well? If you do not have a data strategy to deal with these three, four things, then again, the going away or moving towards a cloud environment, going away from your on premises environment, you are completely losing your control. You are completely losing your visibility, and not only that, you are probably compromising with security and privacy concerns. So that is the first principle. You must have a data strategy in place. The second is, whenever you are thinking of moving towards a cloud environment, do you have a data transfer mechanism? Do you have a kind of a mechanism which deals with all the compliances, regulations, land of the law? Let me quote another example here. For an example, suppose you are moving some of your workload into the cloud. Now, what is that particular workload you are moving into the cloud? Is it a sovereign workload? Is it a critical workload? Is it a kind of your sovereign data? Is it kind of your fiduciary data? Do you really understand even what is your fiduciary data? What is your public data? What is your configurable data? And is that those data points are complied to the law of the land, complied to the regulations you have, complied to the kind of a regulatory framework which you are dealing with? And if not, my suggestion is, first you please have at least a regulatory framework to start with. Whenever and wherever you are thinking moving your workload into a cloud kind of a environment, because tomorrow some dispute happens, something happens. Where do you land? You land into the court of law. You land into the no, those compliances, those regulations. And if you have not planned, if you have not understood well, how are you suddenly moving your government workload into the cloud? Now, that is another very important point to understand. And when I talk about sovereignty data strategy, I really mean saying that right from ingestion of your data to your insights, do you have that complete visibility? Do you have that complete understanding, holistic understanding, no? Right from ingestion to insights. And when I say ingestion to insights, again, I categorically define into four quadrants of these, dealing with the data, dealing with your workload, dealing with your applications, whatever I name it. And these four quadrants are nothing but, the first quadrant is people. I mean, who is your, who are you dealing with? Where are you dealing with? What are you dealing with? Who is your, the principal owner of the data? Who is your custodian of the data? How are you using secondary use of your data? How are you sharing those data? No, how are you moving those workload from your own premises data center into the cloud kind of an environment? So the first quadrant is people. How are you dealing with your workforce? How are you dealing with your, the entire work culture? How are you dealing with your entire, I'll always say that the digital culture you have developed, right? So that is the first quadrant you need to understand. The second quadrant is the execution model. Let me take here half a minute or 45 seconds here, saying that when I talk about an execution model, we are talking about, let's say, cloud variants, cloud kind of a model. Tomorrow, are you in a kind of a scenario where you going kind of a vendor lock kind of a scenario, or cloud lock kind of a scenario? So are you, in a position to create a kind of a migration path where it gives you a interoperable government cloud kind of environment, so that tomorrow I am not dependent to a single cloud provider, right? Or I am not dependent to a single technology per se whenever moving into the cloud. So that is the execution model is very important. And I'll also like to bring in one more point when I'm talking about the execution model. I also mean to say that, it is no more a government alone. We have seen enough. And I personally feel that the next phase is it is a industry oriented model, industry partnership model. That is the way we'll move towards the
Right.
cloud environment. The third
Right.
thing, and the last thing, the rules of engagement, means your compliances, regulations, how are you dealing with, and the last thing is your tools and technologies. So once you have this kind of a holistic visibility, holistic understanding, moving end to end, creating a digital culture, dealing with the digital ethics, I personally feel that the cloud journey becomes really easy. It has a humongous opportunities for all of us, not only cloud by itself alone, but along with cloud, let's say your big data, your machine learning, your IoT, blockchain, all these emerging technology. Cloud is a platform which provides us a kind of an opportunity to leverage maximum, to experience. I'll always say that next level of citizens experience, to increase your productivity, to deal better with your security and privacy. So in all sense, so that's how I sum up. So Vijay,
Right,
thank you.
right. Thank you so much. That was Mr. Golok Simli, CTO, Passport Seva, Minister of External Affairs, Government of India. As you have said, that cloud is cost saving and also time saving, which is very important for government. Also, you said that hybrid cloud is the best option when you talk about citizen-centric services, and the data strategy, which is very important. And you talk about people, IT, technology, everything. Data strategy from ingestion to insight. That's a very important part. And you've given an overall journey of how cloud have come through and where cloud can go for governance in India. Before I let you go, I think what you have said, the best quote to end with for your special address is that what Steve Jobs have said few years back. He said that I don't need a hard disk in my computer if I get to the server faster. Carrying around this non-connected computer is Byzantine by comparison. I think that almost sums
So
up
I
the importance
absolutely
of.
agree. I second it. I absolutely agree. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was Mr. Golok Kumar Simli, CTO, Passport Seva, Minister of External Affairs, Government of India, who gave a special address on leveraging cloud to enhance productivity for the governance ecosystem. Thank you so much.